Jade Morgan checked his watch for the 5th time that morning. 7:28. 2 minutes until she arrived. He straightened the papers on the glass desk, adjusted the temperature to exactly 21 degrees, and poured fresh coffee into the waiting cup. No sugar. Extra hot. Just the way Diana Blackwood liked it. At 28 years old, Jade had perfected the art of invisibility. 3 years as executive assistant to the most powerful woman in Seattle's tech industry had taught him to anticipate needs before they were spoken, to solve problems before they became crises, to exist in the background of someone else's extraordinary life. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Diana Blackwood stepped into the penthouse office like she owned the world. In many ways, she did. Blackwood Industries had revolutionized cloud security, making Diana a billionaire before her 35th birthday. Her reputation was legendary. Brilliant. Ruthless. Untouchable. "Good morning, Ms. Blackwood," Jade said, extending the coffee. She took it without looking at him, her gray eyes scanning the morning reports already laid out. The Patterson meeting? Moved to 3 o'clock. They requested the change last night. I've already updated the presentation with the new projections you asked for. A slight nod. That was all the acknowledgement Jade would get. He'd learned not to expect more. The announcement. Diana's office occupied the entire top floor of the downtown tower, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Puget Sound. Rain streaked the glass, typical for November in Seattle. Inside, everything was pristine. Modern furniture. Abstract art. A workspace designed for maximum efficiency and minimum emotion. Jade retreated to his desk in the outer office, responding to emails and managing Diana's impossible schedule. Lunch meetings. Conference calls. Investor presentations. Her life was a carefully orchestrated symphony, and Jade was the invisible conductor. At noon, Diana emerged from her office, tablet in hand. "Jade, a moment." He followed her back inside, notepad ready. "The annual leadership retreat," she said, pulling up a calendar. "I'm requiring all senior staff to attend. 3 days at the Cascade Mountain Resort. Team building exercises, strategic planning, that sort of thing." Jade typed notes quickly. "When should I schedule it?" "Next weekend. I want you there as well." He looked up, surprised. Diana rarely included him in company events. "Of course. I'll make all the arrangements." "The weather forecast shows possible snow," she continued, her tone businesslike. "Make sure everyone has appropriate gear. I won't have the retreat derailed by people unprepared for mountain conditions." "Understood." Diana's eyes met his briefly, and Jade felt that familiar flutter in his chest. The one he'd been ignoring for 3 years. The one that had no place in their professional relationship. She looked away first. "That's all." Hidden feelings. Back at his desk, Jade began coordinating travel plans for 15 executives. Hotels. Transportation. Catering. Every detail had to be perfect because Diana Blackwood didn't accept anything less. His roommate, Cameron, often asked why he stayed in a job that offered so little recognition. "Dude, you basically run that company," Cameron had said last week over beers. "She couldn't function without you, but does she even know your last name?" She didn't. Or if she did, she never used it. Jade was simply Jade to her. An extension of her efficiency. A tool, not a person. But Cameron didn't understand. Working for Diana meant witnessing genius up close. Watching her negotiate impossible deals. Seeing her transform struggling companies into success stories. She was magnetic in a way that had nothing to do with her striking appearance or designer suits. It was her mind. Her absolute certainty. Her refusal to accept limitations. Jade knew he was in dangerous territory. You don't fall for your boss. Especially not when your boss is Diana Blackwood, who treated personal relationships like business transactions. Calculated. Risk assessed. Usually declined. The journey north. Friday morning arrived with dark clouds and weather warnings. The forecast had worsened overnight. A winter storm was moving faster than predicted, targeting the Cascade Mountains with heavy snow and dangerous winds. Jade stood in the lobby of Blackwood Industries, checking off names as executives arrived for the chartered bus. Diana was the last to appear, wearing an expensive wool coat and carrying a designer overnight bag. "Everyone accounted for?" she asked. "Yes. Though the weather. We're going. I don't cancel for forecasts." The bus departed at 8, heading east out of Seattle. Jade sat near the front, laptop open, still working despite the motion. Behind him, executives chatted and laughed, already in retreat mode. Diana sat alone in the back, isolated even in a crowd. As they climbed into the mountains, the rain turned to sleet, then snow. Heavy, wet flakes that stuck to everything. The driver slowed, windshield wipers working overtime. Jade glanced back. Diana was staring out the window, her expression unreadable. For just a moment, she looked vulnerable. Almost lonely. Then she noticed him watching. The mask returned instantly. She picked up her phone, dismissing him with her focus. The Cascade Mountain Resort appeared through the swirling snow, a rustic lodge promising warmth and shelter. As everyone filed off the bus, the temperature dropped noticeably. This wasn't the light dusting the forecast had suggested. This was a serious storm. "Everyone inside," Diana commanded. "We'll begin the first session in an hour." Jade grabbed his bag and followed the group, already planning Diana's schedule, arranging her meals, ensuring her room met her standards. Being invisible. Being essential. He didn't notice Diana watching him from the lodge entrance, something uncertain flickering across her carefully controlled features. Something that might have been concern, if Diana Blackwood were capable of such things. The snow continued to fall, the retreat's first day passed in a blur of presentations and strategy sessions. Diana was in her element, challenging assumptions, and pushing her team toward bolder thinking. Jade moved through it all like a ghost, ensuring everything ran smoothly. By Saturday afternoon, some executives had organized an outdoor hike despite the weather. Diana declined, as expected. Jade volunteered to check the hiking route, making sure it was clearly marked and safe. The trail wound through towering pines, beautiful but treacherous under fresh snow. Jade was heading back when he noticed a shortcut. A small frozen stream cutting through the trees. The ice looked solid, covered with snow. He stepped onto it. The crack was like a gunshot. The world tilted. Suddenly Jade was plunging through ice into water so cold it felt like knives. The shock stole his breath. His heavy jacket immediately soaked through, pulling him down. He tried to grab the ice edge, but it kept breaking under his hands. The current was stronger than expected, pulling at his legs. Panic set in. He couldn't feel his fingers anymore. Couldn't catch his breath. The cold was everything. Jade. Through his dimming vision, he saw Diana running toward him. Not walking. Running. Her face was stripped of its usual control, replaced by raw fear. "Diana, don't," he tried to warn her, but his voice came out as a whisper. She dropped to her stomach at the ice edge, army crawling to distribute her weight. "Give me your hand." "Too cold," he mumbled. "Can't feel." "Jade Morgan, you give me your goddamn hand right now." The command in her voice cut through his fading consciousness. He reached up. Their fingers connected. Diana's grip was iron-strong as she pulled, using her whole body as leverage. The ice groaned but held. Inch by agonizing inch, she dragged him out. The moment he was clear, she pulled him away from the stream and started tearing at his soaked jacket. We need to get you warm immediately, she said, her hands shaking. Hypothermia can kill in minutes. The abandoned cabin. Jade's teeth chattered so violently he couldn't speak. Diana looked around desperately, then spotted something through the trees. A small structure. She got under his arm, supporting most of his weight. Walk with me. Just a little further. The cabin was old, probably used by rangers decades ago. The door was unlocked. Inside was dusty but dry, with a stone fireplace and a single cot covered in ancient blankets. Diana lowered Jade onto the cot and immediately started stripping off his wet clothes. When he tried to protest, she cut him off. This isn't the time for modesty. You'll die if you stay in these. Her voice was shaking. I refuse to let that happen. She worked quickly, efficiently, until he was down to his underwear. Then she wrapped him in every blanket she could find and turned to the fireplace. To Jade's surprise, she knew exactly what to do. Within minutes, she had kindling arranged and a fire starting. How do you know? He started through chattering teeth. I grew up in Montana. My father taught me survival skills before business strategy. She fed larger pieces of wood into the growing flames. Something I haven't thought about in years. Once satisfied with the fire, Diana pulled out her phone. No signal. She tried the emergency radio on the wall, but it was dead. The storm must have knocked out communications, she said, more to herself than Jade. She sat beside him on the cot, pulling some of the blankets around her own shoulders. We'll have to wait it out. Walls crumbling. For a long time, they sat in silence. The fire crackled and grew, filling the small cabin with warmth. Color slowly returned to Jade's face. His shaking lessened to occasional shivers. You saved my life, he finally said. Diana stared at the fire. You almost died because of me. Because I insisted we come here despite the weather warnings. That's not. It is. She turned to face him, and Jade saw something he'd never seen before. Tears in Diana Blackwood's eyes. I saw you go under that ice, and I realized something terrifying. The thought of losing you was unbearable. Jade's heart stopped. Diana. For 3 years, you've been there. Every morning. Every late night. You know how I take my coffee. You know when I'm stressed before I admit it. You make my impossible life possible. Her voice cracked. And I never even thanked you. I never asked about your life. Your dreams. I treated you like a very efficient appliance. You were protecting yourself, Jade said quietly. I understood that. Did you? She laughed bitterly. Because I didn't. Not until I thought I might watch you die. Then suddenly, all those walls I built seemed incredibly stupid. The cabin felt smaller. More intimate. Diana's wet hair had come loose from its usual tight bun, falling around her shoulders. Without her armor of power suits and cold efficiency, she looked younger. More human. Why did you build them? Jade asked. Diana was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, after my divorce, I promised myself I'd never be vulnerable again. My ex-husband couldn't handle my success. Said I made him feel small. So I made myself bigger. Harder. Untouchable. She wrapped her arms around herself. I became exactly what people expected. The Ice Queen. The ruthless CEO. I was so good at it, I forgot how to be anything else. I don't think you forgot, Jade said softly. I think you just needed a reason to remember. Their eyes met. In the firelight, Diana's usual gray eyes looked almost warm. Tell me something true, she whispered. Something you've never said. Jade took a breath. I'm in love with you. Have been for 2 years. I know it's inappropriate and impossible, but when you asked for truth. Diana kissed him. It wasn't tentative or questioning. It was certain. Decisive. Very Diana Blackwood, except it was also desperate and vulnerable in a way she'd never allowed herself to be. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. That was, Jade started. Necessary, Diana finished. And terrifying. And the first real thing I've done in 5 years. Outside, the storm howled. Inside, something warmer than fire was burning. The fire burned lower as evening turned to night. Diana and Jade sat close together on the small cot, sharing warmth and, for the first time, sharing themselves. When I was 12, Diana said, staring at the flames, my father took me ice fishing in Montana. We were out on the lake when the ice started cracking. He grabbed me and ran. We made it to shore, but barely. She paused. When I saw you go through that ice today, I was 12 again. Terrified. Helpless. But you weren't helpless. You saved me. I almost lost you. Her hand found his under the blankets. I've spent so long avoiding loss by avoiding connection. Turns out that's just another kind of loss. Slower. Quieter. But just as complete. Jade squeezed her hand. Tell me about your marriage. If you want to. Diana sighed. Trevor was charming. Ambitious. We met at business school. Got married too young, thinking we'd build an empire together. Her voice hardened. But he wanted to be the emperor, not share the throne. When Blackwood Industries started succeeding, he became cruel. Said no man would ever want a woman who made him look weak. He was threatened by your strength. He wasn't the last. Diana's laugh was hollow. I tried dating after the divorce. Every man either wanted to fix me, diminish me, or possess me. No one just wanted to know me. So I stopped trying. I want to know you, Jade said quietly. The real you. The woman who knows how to build fires and negotiate billion-dollar deals. The one who works 16-hour days and never complains. The one who was scared today. All of it. Diana looked at him with wonder. Why? Why would you want someone as damaged as me? You're not damaged. You're guarded. There's a difference. He shifted closer. And I'm not intimidated by your success, Diana. I'm inspired by it. Watching you work is like watching an artist. You see possibilities no one else sees. Even when I'm cold? Demanding? Even then. Because I also see the woman who drives herself harder than anyone. Who carries the weight of an entire company. Who's lonely but won't admit it. Jade touched her face gently. I see you, Diana. All of you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't know how to do this. How to be vulnerable without being destroyed. You start small. You start with trust. Confessions by firelight. They talked through the night as the storm raged outside. Diana shared stories Jade had never heard. Her childhood in Montana. Her difficult relationship with her perfectionist father. The crushing pressure of being the only woman in rooms full of men who expected her to fail. Every success had to be twice as good, she said. Every mistake was proof I didn't belong. So I stopped making mistakes. Stopped taking risks in my personal life. Stopped feeling. But you felt today. When I went through the ice. I was terrified, Diana admitted. Absolute terror. And then relief when I got you out. And then this. She gestured between them. Whatever this is. This is two people being honest, Jade said. Maybe for the first time. He told her about growing up in a small town, feeling invisible. About coming to Seattle with big dreams that shrunk when reality hit. About taking the assistant job thinking it was temporary. But you stayed, Diana said. I stayed because of you. Because working with you challenged me. Taught me. Made me better. He hesitated. And because somewhere along the way, I fell for the woman behind the mask. That woman is rusty at this, Diana warned. I'll probably mess it up. Revert to being the Ice Queen. Push you away. Probably, Jade agreed. And I'll probably get insecure. Wonder if you really want someone like me. Someone who doesn't come from your world. So we'll mess it up together? We'll figure it out together. Diana leaned her head on his shoulder. This is crazy. I'm your boss. There are power dynamics. Company policies. What will people think? We'll deal with it. If that's what you want. What I want, Diana said slowly, is to stop being afraid. To stop hiding behind walls. To try. She lifted her head to look at him. With you. If you're willing to be patient with me. I've been patient for 3 years. I can keep going. She smiled. A real smile. You're remarkable, Jade Morgan. And I've been a fool not to see it sooner. You see it now. That's what matters. They fell asleep wrapped in blankets and each other, the fire burning low but steady. The morning after. Dawn brought silence. The storm had passed. Sunlight streamed through the cabin's single window, illuminating dancing dust motes. Jade woke first, Diana curled against him, her usual severe expression softened in sleep. He watched her breathe, still hardly believing the night had happened. That the untouchable Diana Blackwood had let him in. That she'd been vulnerable. Real. His. Her eyes opened. For a moment, fear flickered across her face. The old Diana, ready to rebuild walls. Then she saw him watching, and the fear faded. Good morning, she said softly. Good morning. I thought maybe I dreamed it, me too. They dressed in Jade's now dry clothes, sharing the warmth of the fire one last time. Then they stepped outside into a transformed world. Snow blanketed everything, pure and pristine. The sun made it sparkle. We should head back, Diana said. They'll be searching for us. They will. But neither moved. Diana took Jade's hand, lacing their fingers together. When we get back, everything will be complicated, she said. People will talk. There will be consequences. I know. I can't promise I won't revert sometimes. That I won't be difficult. I know that too. But I want to try. Really try. To be someone who can have both. Success and connection. Power and. Diana fell asleep with her head on his shoulder. When he looked down at her peaceful face, Jade Morgan smiled. The storm had changed everything. Sometimes that's exactly what storms are meant to do.